Good evening. My name's Taryn Wall, and I'm a second grade teacher at Derby Ridge here in Columbia. And I'm also a student in the Mizzou ELPA Master's Program. And I wanted to just say thank you to the board for allowing me to come this evening to present some information about new teacher mentoring and induction, and hopefully give us all a better understanding of the importance of supporting our new teachers. Lack of support and mentoring for beginning teachers is a problem that we face here in Columbia Public Schools as a district at the school level, and it's also a national problem in education in our country. There is a ton of existing data out there that shows us that lack of new teacher support and mentoring and induction is a problem that we're seeing across our nation, and it is something that are affecting every district and every school in America. We know that on average, new teachers are less effective than more experienced teachers. New teachers who participate in high quality mentoring and induction programs actually experience accelerated professional growth, which of course makes them become effective faster. This accelerated growth and increased effectiveness has a positive impact on retention, student learning, and district return on investment in terms of new teacher support programs. In 1987 and 1988, the average teacher had 15 years of teaching experience, and by 2007, 2008, the typical teacher was in their first year of teaching. So according to current research, about 1 in 5 classroom teachers is in their first 3 years of teaching. So beginning teachers, teachers who are at the start of their career, is more prevalent now than ever. We know that schools in high poverty neighborhoods and communities have an inequitable amount of new and beginning teachers. As stated earlier, research shows that beginning teachers are on average less effective than more experienced teachers. So what this means is that students of color and those from low-income families are disadvantaged because they have a much higher percentage of beginning teachers than their middle and upper class counterparts. This is going to hinder a school's ability to meet the needs of some of our most vulnerable populations. We're failing to address this issue, which will only continue to burden our schools, districts, and society, as we are failing to educate all of our students at high levels. We know through research that positive teaching conditions are a big component of successful schools. And these conditions include things such as trust, supportive school leadership, collaboration, professional development. This allows educators to continue to grow and learn so that they can better serve their students. And if this is important for successful schools and teachers in general, we have to assume that this is even more important for our beginning teachers who are just starting out. And when we look at educational policy regarding new teacher mentoring and induction programs, many states do not have policies. And in states that do, many times the policy is not exactly translating into practice. According to one survey, a large percentage of beginning teachers say they were not formally assigned a mentor at all, even in states where a mentor program is required. The New Teacher Center did some widespread research in 2015, and here are some key findings from that. There were only 29 states that required some sort of support for new teachers, and barely half of those required support for teachers beyond their first year. And 27 states require some type of new teacher support, but most states emphasize only support in the teacher's first year on the job or require no support at all. Only 9 states required support for teachers beyond their first 2 years on the job. 11 states required only 1 year of support. Only 15 states required research-based multi-year course of support for all beginning teachers. And at that point, 21 states still had no requirements at all in terms of new teacher support. Beyond the lack of long-term support for new teachers, we have seen a lack of funding for new teacher support programs. In these, the findings from the New Teacher Center, they found only 16 states provided dedicated funding for new teacher induction, and that number has decreased since 2012. Only 9 states provided induction funding to all school districts within their state, and of those, only 6 states provided funding for local induction costs. The other 3 provided funding for only mentor stipends. Only 2 states fund statewide teacher induction programs. Lack of mentor training and even just the use of mentors at all is another major problem. More than 30 states provide or require initial mentor training, but only 18 of those require ongoing development and training for their mentors. And only 4 states actively provide or require full-time teacher mentors. 3 other states encourage it. The final major issue area that was discovered in the New Teacher Center research is a lack of release time for mentors and mentees. So in our nation, 23 states are requiring or encouraging release time for mentor teachers to conduct classroom observations and be able to provide that support during the actual school day. Only 12 states have established a minimum amount of weekly or annual mentor time for beginning teachers, and 6 other states explicitly require regular mentor-mentee interactions in their policies and program standards. And only 2 states encourage a reduced teaching load for beginning teachers. Another hole in the big picture of new teacher support is a lack of support for school administrators. So, supporting school leaders as they support their new teachers is going to be a vital part of beginning teacher support. When teachers have skilled leadership who support them, help them grow as professionals, they're more likely to stay in the profession and become better instructors. A couple pieces of research. Only 20 states require support for school administrators in their first year as administration. Only 6 states require support beyond that administrator's first year. And in only 14 states is an induction requirement tied to the administrator certification or licensure process. The state of Missouri is not included in any of the figures that you heard today in terms of requirement for new teacher training, new teacher induction, mentor training, administrator support, etc. When looking at Hattie's research on effect sizes, we know that 0.4 is kind of the hinge point, which indicates a year's growth, and we're wanting to maximize our time in the classroom. So I looked at any factors that are above a 0.4 and pulled out some with a high effect size that are directly tied to teachers. And of course, we know at the top is collective teacher efficacy. So their confidence in their ability to increase student learning. All of these things listed here, which you can look through for yourself, are directly tied to the teacher. So if we're able to support our new teachers in developing some of these skills and really perfecting some of these strategies, then in turn we're going to increase their student learning and increase their effectiveness as an instructor. If a teacher's confidence in their ability to impact student learning and their confidence in their colleagues' ability to impact student learning is one of the very top factors with as far as effect size goes, then how can we instill that confidence in our teachers? Well, we're going to need to be in their classroom supporting them, giving them validation for the things that they're doing well, giving constructive feedback to help them grow and improve, and supporting them through the toughest years in their career. And instructional strategies can be learned and perfected, but it can't happen in isolation. We've got to provide these teachers with support in order for them to grow. So how are we going to increase student learning? Well, we can support, grow, and improve our teachers first and foremost. So why is all of this so important? Why is new teacher support something that we need to make a push for as a district and a country? Well, it's just directly tied to student achievement and learning outcomes. So if we're wanting to help our students grow and improve, we first need to help our teachers grow and improve. This research shows that new teacher support and induction mentoring programs has a direct tie on retention of quality teachers. We need to be concerned about this because our most disadvantaged student populations are especially vulnerable when it comes to new teachers and new teacher support. We know that they have a higher percentage of those new teachers, so in order to help close the achievement gap that we're seeing, we really need to focus on supporting those teachers so that all students are receiving a quality education. Our society as a whole is dependent on this, and the future of the field of education is dependent on this. So where do we go from here? We know we have this major problem and there's data to back it up, but what do we do now? Well, there are some steps at every level in our education system that need to take place. So we're going to start with federal and state policy. New teacher mentoring induction programs for first 2 years on the job need to be requirements. And we need to be given some guidelines for what quality mentorship looks like and guidelines for what a quality induction program would be. We've got to make requirements and policy in terms of support for administrators in their first 2 years on the job in order to better support their teachers and students. We need to have some guidelines for those admin support programs to ensure that they have quality and purpose. And funding has got to be addressed. We need to be providing funding for beginning teacher and administrator mentoring and support programs. This would include things like mentor stipends, funding for induction programs as a whole, release time for mentors and mentees, and quality professional development. At a district level, we've got to provide all of our mentors with training and ongoing development throughout the year. We need to ensure that there is at least one mentor instructional coach at each elementary school and multiple in secondary depending on student need. We need to supervise this to ensure that these mentors and instructional coaches are truly there to support their teachers and help them grow, not being used as extra administrators and being pulled for behavior and things of that sort. They need to be spending the majority of their time supporting those beginning teachers and the rest of their staff. We've got to enforce guidelines for mentor assignments. No more next in line. They're the next person to get a mentee. It should be based on compatibility and personalities and ability to mentor and teach so that we make sure that our beginning teachers are in good hands. And we need to leave the majority of our new teacher induction to the school so that it can really be tailored to the specific needs of those teachers in those specific student populations. As a district, we need to provide more support for our beginning administrators in their first 2 years on the job. They have a large burden to carry and they have an entire staff to support, as well as making sure that their beginning teachers are getting what they need, and we need to support them in doing that. They also need a mentor program so that they can have an experienced administrator who's going to provide feedback and guidance for them as they start their career. We need to have meetings and opportunities for principals to get together to table issues and questions and have their questions answered and get the support that they need. And we need to be supervising to ensure that new teacher support guidelines are in fact being followed. There are also going to be some key steps for us to take at a school level. So once the district has been able to give us the human resources at each school to really support our teachers, the schools are going to have to do a lot to make sure that those people are purposeful and that our programs within our schools are purposeful. So when looking at the school mentor instructional coach, we need to have guidelines for the fact that a large percentage of their time needs to be spent with those first and second year teachers and supporting them in those tough first years and providing them with new teacher support meetings, again, so that they can have a chance to meet with their peers and other colleagues to be able to discuss concerns and discuss issues they're seeing within their classroom and draw from the talent within the building. In terms of a teacher mentor or teacher buddy that the new teachers would have, we need to make sure we're matching them with people who they're going to be compatible with, not necessarily someone even in their grade level, someone who we know that will take a vested interest in their success and help support them through their tough first years. And we need to make sure that they're given the release time that it's going to take to be able to perform observations and provide those feedback meetings. And of course, we're going to need to have supervision at a school level to make sure that our mentors really are giving our new teachers the support that they need. Administrators are going to have specific responsibilities within their building, such as making teacher support a priority and giving special attention to those beginning teachers. It needs to be an expectation for the entire staff that we're all going to join together to help support our most vulnerable teachers and make sure we're being a lead learner and creating a culture within the schools that we need to consider new teacher support to be very important for all of us. It impacts all of our kids, it impacts our staff as a whole, and we need to treat this as a team effort. And building off of that, shifting our school cultures, making sure that our first and second year teachers are being considered when classes are being formed, that we're taking into consideration that a first year teacher might not be equipped to deal with several massive behavior problems or a large bulk of kids who are struggling academically. We need to give them some preference in terms of protecting them and giving them the best setup for success. And again, creating a culture of continuous growth and improvement, and where we're all on a team to try to help support each other to be the best we can be. When we look at implementation of these next steps, we need to have ways to monitor the success of our program. So we're going to need to get feedback from our beginning teachers, from our mentors, from staffs as a whole, and from students to see, do we feel that these programs are helping make our teachers more effective, more confident in their abilities to serve their kids? We need to be in classrooms performing observations and evaluations and providing feedback and getting feedback in return to see these strategies being used in action, to see our mentors in classrooms supporting their mentee, to watch some of the feedback conferences that they're having together. And we need to make sure that we're continuously reviewing student data throughout the years, and not only 1 year at a time, but longitudinal data from year to year to see, are we seeing an increase in student achievement as time goes on once these programs have been implemented over time? And we need to make sure we're tracking teacher retention throughout our district and comparing it to years past. In conclusion, I'm hoping that what we can take away from the data that we've seen tonight and some of the recommendations that I've made is that we are lacking support for our new teachers, and we've got to do better. And we know that, as with everything in education, this has to be a team effort. We're all, at all levels in our education system, going to need to make changes and see to it that our most vulnerable teachers are better supported and encouraged through the toughest years in their career. Thank you for your attention this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.